Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Hope you're having a great week. Tonight, we're tasting the top wines of 2022. And these are wines that if someone were to call me or email me looking for something really special, these are really some of the outstanding in the field that we were able to taste last year. There's quite a long list of favorites around here. I honestly don't buy it for the store if I don't think it's quite exceptional. But these really kind of caught me in a spot where they're maybe lean into my preferences a little bit. And I think there's a great story behind each wine. None of these are large productions. Many of them love the fact that I'm talking about their wine tonight in this context, and they've emailed me, and I'm very flattered that they even pay attention. But it should be a really fun tasting, and I'll give you my reasons and rationale behind why some of these are truly exceptional examples. Now, the Wine Spectator makes their annual list, or Suckling or Parker, their top 100 wines. It's not always the top 100 scores. It's the wines that kind of differentiated themselves, because they could just probably publish 100 point wines. But many of those wines are not available at all. Like they were able to taste it and give it 100 points, but no one ever gets to find that wine in the marketplace. You know, Domaine Romanée-Conti at $25,000 a bottle is going to be a great wine almost any time you get to try it. Probably should be, retired from top 100 wine lists because it's that good. It probably deserves to be there almost every year. But we always want to find something new and challenge ourselves and go out on a limb and get really excited about something maybe somebody else hasn't. Now, I've been very fortunate in my career to not only buy wine for and run top dining rooms. That was many years ago, but I'm still involved in wine list consulting, and I do an amazing wine list right now for a top restaurant in Hollywood. I'm really having fun with that. I buy for the store, Merchant of Wine, which is my family owns and I help run. And I'm involved in producing wine. I make my own wine, which I never put in my own list. That would be ridiculous. But it gives me a great sense of perspective to be able to taste next to each other great wines. I host a lot of different dinner events too, where I think what's one of the fun niche tastings that I helped develop before anyone else was doing it were these side-by-side tastings, where you're tasting the greatest wines in the world right next to each other. And they're not, because often if you go to a winemaker dinner, you got the winemaker there, you're not going to taste anybody else's wine. You're going to taste their wine, and that's it. And when you taste it in that context, you develop a relationship with a brand, but maybe not a lot of perspective. So tonight, no winemakers, no guests, just great wine, 7 of them. So we better hurry. Let's get started. Top wines of 2022, brought to you by merchantofwine.com. And all these wines are available on the website right now. If any of them run out of stock, like the Loconda Cab tonight, I probably can get more, but I don't put more than I have on the website on these babies until I can confirm that. So just let me know if there's something that we run out of stock on. Wine number 1. I've gone out on a limb, a very thin, wiggly limb, to give this wine a very high point in my program. I have sold more of this wine in the last year than anything else in the store. I've put a lot of this wine out there. I love Spanish wines. I love Albarino. This is an Albarino blend, so it isn't called Albarino, but it's from Rias Baixas, which is on the coast of Spain. And it has other grape varieties in the mix, which are very important to that local area. And that area is just above the Vinho Verde of Portugal. So this wine has a lot of additional little nuances that I just don't think you find in your average Rias Baixas Albarino. Ocean influence, big time, lot. You can almost smell the ocean in this glass. I'm going to get my little jar open. And I hope your jars didn't leak as much as mine did. And the only person I can blame is myself, because the guy who does it for me now, he did a great job, and I had to do them myself this week, and mine leaked a little bit. I didn't do so good.
You need to do hand X-ray exercises because mine leaked.
Yeah. Well, you know, I use this jar closer, which we all use, but maybe I've also seen them where they're so hard to open, you need the jaws of life to get them open. So I was like, okay, that's tight. No, they need to be cranked back to extra tight. I will make sure of that in the future, and apologize to anyone that's dealing with messy jars. All right. So Albarino, we look at it in the glass. We notice it's just got this nice, fresh, bright, young, vibrant color. You can almost hold that glass right up to that picture. That's where you're standing. That's how close you are to the ocean. These vines get an amazing amount of sunshine and wind, lots of concentration. And these are made in a large laguerre that you would walk on. The grapes, press them, they drain into a tank. Not afraid of a little bit of oxidation, but once they go into the tank, they go into fermentation, no more oxidation. This is made by a master in Rioja. We've had him as a guest on one of our past events. La Rioja Alta is the producer of this wine, but really he does not take much credit for this. This is all about great grapes growing in the great spot, and all he does is protect the information. Cool fermentations, small tanks so that the temperatures don't get too high, refrigeration on the tanks so they can really control and slow down the fermentation and not burn off with hot fermentations these beautiful aromatics. The trellising system is very old school. You can see how the grapes, it's called pergola. So the grapes actually grow above you, and that pergola helps shade these varieties from sunburn, which you would often get when you're that close to the ocean and all that sunshine. And
long finish.
Let's taste it. Here in some comments. Love to hear what you think. I love the energy in the nose. And it's not just one dimensional. It's got a lot of citrus, kumquat. I grew up around a kumquat tree, and that thing was like the giving tree. Every time I wanted a kumquat, there was one on that tree. You can smell that citrus peel.
I have a dwarf kumquat that I was harvesting the other day.
All right. Do they taste good?
Yeah, I made some great jam with it, but I love this one. So that second tank with the tree, that would make a great wine label. On the tank, the second one.
Like that? Wrapped around the tank, wrapped around the bottle?
Yeah, that was a great tree trunk there.
What do you think? Yeah,
All right.
it's a long finish.
Not long and clean.
Yes.
And acidity.
Yes.
This is meant for food and Spanish style tapas. You're in the Basque region, northern Spain. Probably some seafood there, and I'd love to have it with something oily, salty, fishy. That could all work out well. When I was in Portugal, I think one of the major tourists gifts that they sell are cans of sardines. That wouldn't be a bad idea here either.
Yeah.
$20. I think it's a
Mhm.
bottle of wine, great value. I wouldn't want to
Mhm.
age it forever, but I think it's at kind of it's drinking great now. If you bought a couple bottles and a year from now you drank it, I'm sure it's still great. I just think 3-4 years, I think that would be getting long.
Okay.
Any questions? It's as good as I remember. Sometimes, you taste something, you have a great experience with it. A couple months later, you go to open that bottle. And, yeah, it's not as good as I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This one is. I like it. I like it a lot. I think the nose is even better than I remember. It's kind of put on some added character. But I also will say this wine, even icy cold in the summer, was
Hmm.
I discovered it in a summer night. We had it with some we were actually at a place called Halama, and that's in Santa Barbara, right on the ocean. And we set up a little campfire, and we had some trout. I don't know how we had trout, maybe ocean trout, but we bought it from a little fish market up there, put it on the grill, got some nice grill marks on it, some capers, a little bit of butter, olive oil, garlic, and it was magic.
Sounds
All right. That is wine number 1. Let's go into wine number 2.
good. That was easy to take the lid off. You want to pour 2?
All right, let me see where they go. Here we are. All right. So in June of 2021, you may have been watching the news and watching this amazing rain in Europe just destroy. And in fact, the 2021 harvest in Champagne was almost nil. And that's why a lot of champagnes ran out of stock, because they work in real time using the new vintage and blending it with the older vintages, and they had to take the hit. And so they did, allowing their importers and everything to sell everything that they had. The market's thirsty for it. Those wines are coming in a little bit more expensive now. But another market that got hit really hard with those rains was the Mosel in Germany. And they had just amazing rain, and they really didn't think this vintage was going to work out very well. Yields were low, just an immense amount of water, but they had this magical September of warm temperatures come through, and they had a long growing season. They get to allow these grapes to hang as a little bit longer with good sunshine, and things kind of dried up, firmed up, nice and plump, but not a lot of quantity here. That's why we get such incredible additional richness, intensity, thickness, vibrancy, and everything is looking really, really good. Now, I love Riesling. I always have. It is kind of a wine that at one point in history was way more important to the wine world than it is today. But maybe this is a moment where Riesling could have a little bit of a comeback. This is classic, and a lot of these producers are being forced to make drier and drier wines because too many people don't want to embrace residual sugar. This does have residual sugar, not a whole lot of it, but enough to balance insanely high acidity. Imagine if you made lemonade without adding any additional sugar. That's what you'd be doing with a German Riesling if you didn't have a little bit of a sweetness to counterbalance all the bitterness, tartness, and high acidity. Fritz Haag is a champion producer. brand, A+. Bromberger Jufer is the name of the vineyard in Bromberg. Jufer is the, I believe the name of the vineyard. Cabinet is the like made for the cabinet. It is the fresh, young, first picking off. Oftentimes, grapes are almost still in a greenish state of mind, so they have this really young energy. They ferment these wines to a low level of alcohol, which is another thing I like about them, because you could drink this and not be too concerned about, how the alcohol is going to impact your day, your evening, your lunch, your afternoon. This is 8% alcohol. 8. Here's where the Mosel is. And it sits on these really steep slopes of slate. And you can see Bromberg Jufer Schoner right here, the center part. And Fritz Haag owns a little winget right across the river and sources the fruit from his family's estate. That's a look at how steep the vineyards are. Sometimes you actually rappel down into the vineyard, and the slate is a very special soil and stone. It's very nimble, very brittle. If you walk through the vineyard, you can actually break up the vineyard, and the slate will slide down the mountain, slide down the hill, and sometimes they even have to bring it back up into the hill because they want to keep enough slate soils there to help reflect heat from the sun, and also to retain some water, some moisture, some temperature, warmth and cold. They wanted both. So slate works really, really well. And this is just one big hill of slate. There's another view. And if you've ever been to the Mosel, maybe on a cruise, you cruise through the Mosel River. That's what it looks like out your window. It's stunning. And this is really one of the most unique terrains in the world for growing grapes. They can only grow it in those certain turns on the river, and it does turn like a snake, back and forth, back and forth. And right where that sun hits that southwest exposure, that's where the snow melts. And that's where the monks said, okay, we could grow grapes there, but we can't grow them over there because the snow's not melting. So they use that as a way to guide them. These wines always have kind of a crunchiness, very juicy, white peach, honeysuckle, lots of acidity. This one's also quite salty. That it's got kind of a little bit of a matchstick on the front end that does kind of blow off a little bit in a little while. Maybe another year in the bottle will kind of resolve some of that. These age very nicely.
I like this one, but I like this one better than the first one.
All right.
It has a little more flavor to it, but it's not heavy like the Rieslings I used to drink in college. Blue Nun or whatever it was.
Sure. Yeah, and families like this make such small, teeny amounts of the wines. They do see sometime in these larger wood formats. These are not the normal size barrel; they're a little larger, 500 instead of 225, or maybe even larger than that. And they're obviously maniacal, being German, about their detail and the cleanliness, the freshness. And this one is just going to be super. It is under screw cap, and it is just a fantastic wine and a really dependable brand. And 2021 is a very special and interesting vintage, a little more exaggerated for some very strange reasons, mostly because there was such a damage to the vineyards and the quantity that the little bit of fruit that they got a lot of attention. So that's why we are where we are. And these wines are also were probably fruit that were destined for higher tier bottlings, but with the 2021 vintage, they can pretty much declassified almost everything into their basic wines. So all the basic wines are just really, really good and generous. Well, I hope you enjoy that. I'm going to recommend that you either rinse your glass or have a little sip of water to get into your red, because moving from Riesling to something dry again can be a little bit of a shock. If you got a piece of cheese, that wouldn't be a bad idea too.
Cheese.
Cheese.
And last,
All right, hopefully you see the slide with wine number 3 on it. This is from a brand called Drew. Drew was initially making wine, I believe, in the Central Coast, and was buying fruit and working hard trying to keep it. And every vintage was challenged to see if they'd be able to buy the fruit again, and was able to put some money together and buy a really interesting vineyard up in Anderson Valley. And Anderson Valley is having a nice little renaissance right now. Getting more and more high tier producers to come in and buy some of their special single vineyard fruit. But this guy went and bought his own vineyard, so he doesn't have to worry about his own future, taking destiny in his own hands, and really developed a special piece of property. Now, Anderson is a little further north than Napa Sonoma, and you just kind of get into Sonoma and keep going, and you'll hit the Anderson Valley. You can see some of the geological features there, and the valley floor, and then some of the kind of the channeling mountain ranges that funnel in the energy and guide that Anderson Creek all the way out to the ocean, the Navarro River. So Jason and Molly Drew are the couple, and this was a 26-acre apple orchard. They're at 1,250 feet in elevation. The ocean's 3.3 miles away, so a lot of oceanic influence. Keeping things cool, keeping the cloud layer heavy. It's an optimal spot for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. May be a little bit more challenged for thicker skinned grape varieties, but Pinot Noir is obviously going to thrive in this spot. The House of Roeder champagne or sparkling wine. They have a sparkling producer there, Scharfenberger as well, and some others. Domaine Anderson, I believe is the name of it. There's a lot of sparkling wine there, and of course you make sparkling wine from Pinot Noir and Chardonnay.
good.
Here's a look at some of that foot treading. Beautiful, that fog just comes in and just coats it like a blanket. Let's taste this one together.
Did the rains affect the vineyards, or were they not?
Oh,
rain.
they were impacted, I'm sure. That those water levels are welcome. And I hope they did a lot better than we did down here in Southern California in reclaiming some of that water, because I just watched the LA River pump 90% of it out to the ocean. And I think that's one of our challenges, is that we've laid down so much pavement that the earth is not able to absorb. Maybe, and that's not a bad idea. But I remember about 10 years ago, we were talking in the Arts District of removing all that pavement from the LA riverbed and turning it back into like trees and everything. I just can't imagine what would be left after that much water went through the LA riverbed. You got to have that to, kind of keep things in place. You don't want buildings disappearing and,
That's how it got cemented in the first place, was after the flood in the 1920s, I think it was. I wasn't around and stuff. But through Glendale, they've kind of made it more, vegetation, and you can go canoe through there and stuff. But yeah.
I've seen that. But
Yeah.
it is a floodplain, and when enough time goes by and not enough people live that were alive during that last flood issue, we start to make the bad decisions thinking that we're past that. And Mother Nature has a way of reminding us. So I think we'll have to figure out some other ways to reclaim some of that water. And I think
Well, this doesn't take as long as the tank they're building over there by what's near Forest Lawn, off of Forest Lawn Drive. Right there, there's a big tank they're building it, but they've been building that thing for about 10 years now. So I think it takes a while. Yeah.
Well, let's get back into this Pinot Noir and see what you guys think. This is one I haven't tasted for a number of months, so I'm hoping you like it. But crazy red cherry fruit on the nose. It's like really bright and juicy cherry. Smell those cherry skins, just really forward. This is not a wine that I'm going to compare to Burgundy. This is a very Californian Pinot Noir and very fruit forward, but has everything else in pretty great proportion. So it's not just candied forward fruit. It's got a lot of personality in the middle. I didn't come up with a great score on my own. On this one, I tasted it, I loved it, I bought it, and then I found out that it had got 95, 96 points by a couple of people. But I think that is fantastic Pinot Noir. Big and juicy, kind of, but not so big. There's actually Pinot Noirs that are being made today that are bigger because they're riper and they push into almost like prune and raisin and date type of aromas. And I don't like those on Pinot Noir. I really think this one stays really great in the sweet spot. Red flesh fruits, really nice detail, good tension, but not too heavy either. And it keeps the price approachable. I'd say similar wines with similar qualities from single vineyards in the Anderson Valley. Brands like Literati, they're selling for $125, $150 a bottle. Some of the top producers. So I think this one does a great job. It's around $60 and maybe a little light of that with your discount tonight. So if you like this, it's a great one to find. Not very many places have it. And I think it's one of the best Pinot Noirs I found last year from California. And I tasted a lot of great Pinot Noir from California. There were some treasures. All right, another fun new brand. I'm hoping I'm tasting some of these things for the first time with you even, is Aaron Coella, Paso Robles. Tasted his wines a couple times through the years. His price points are softer than a lot of the mega brands, the famous, Law, State, Turley's, Saxums, Laventeurs. There's a group there. All those wines are moving north of $100 a bottle. Some of them are now moving towards $200 a bottle. This guy has a nice approach, makes a very pretty wine. This wine features a good swath of Petit Syrah, Syrah and Grenache. Is that math okay? Did we get to 100% when I saw that? Was that 48 Grenache, 27 48, 48.
Is the Graciano part of the whole Movedra Graciano debacle?
Yeah, you got it. And what Josh is referring to is that one of the large nurseries up there that sells everybody their vines was selling all the producers Mourvedre. Well, a French winemaker was walking through the vineyard, and they're like he was looking down, and he's like kind of looking at it puzzled. And like, that's our Mourvedre. He goes, that is not Mourvedre. And so they did some research on it, and they found out it's the Spanish grape Graciano, which is planted in Rioja. So now everyone's got it, and they love what it does to the wines. So they're like, all right, we're doing Graciano. And it does add a really cool, like floral tone to the wines. Maybe the Rhone Valley should be considering Graciano. This wine's better than I remember. I love this wine. It's got really fun black cracked pepper notes, more on the plummy side of fruit, purple skinned fruits. This does get a little riper. We're in Paso. This pushes ripe, but you need it to get riper. It's going to Petit Syrah. It needs to get ripe. And man, that thing is black in the glass. Just saturated. And the nose just kind of dances around. It goes from spicy to that fruit to that floral lift. Wonderful mouthfeel. Not so grippy that it's bitter or tannic. It's really enjoyable right now. Very fresh, good texture, nice treatment of the wood. So we're in Paso. We're in Adelaida district. And here's his luxury winemaking Shay. Oh, a little too fast there. Let's see what they say.
Ian, we just want to make sure this is wine number 4, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm
Just it's the list on the email has number 4, has like the list is the once and future.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. Yeah,
No, that's just want to make sure.
that was also the way my slideshow was when I started tonight. Before I came on live, I'm looking over. I'm like, why is the Zin number 4? Zin is number 5.
Great.
okay. Awesome. This wine is fantastic, by the way. It's
Yeah,
like
this is really nice.
chewy and love the dark fruit. Really nice dances in the glass.
Totally. And it's got so much complexity, and it's not, I love blends. I love single mono varietals too, nice glass Syrah with, kind of hitting like, chocolate covered bacon type of stuff. But this one kind of dances all over the place. It's not what you were expecting, and it's kind of surprisingly deliciously unique. And I think I give it extra points because it's so unique. Even in a place like Paso, this is unique in Paso. And I think that he does a great job and puts it together for a really decent price. Good scores, wonderful, and all of his wines. I actually bought both his. He has another level on our website too. That's a $29 version, very similar, a little less Petit Syrah. So this one's kind of elevated. It comes in a beautiful package too, by the way. I don't know if you can see it with my background. Here, let me take off my background. I'm working on my Zoom room here.
I really like
It's kind of a little bit of
What?
this one. I like
instruction.
really well.
Then
Yeah.
So here's the package. Nice upscale package, little wax seal on the top when it was brand new, but it's called Sand and Stone. And he puts that on the back label. But there's another version blend that he makes that he's able to sell it even a little less. I got it on the website around $30, $29. It's damn good. I would have even less friction opening up a bottle of that on a day-to-day basis. And I recommend it to my friends all the time. In fact, I just put it on that wine list I was talking about up in Hollywood. So a really fun brand to get to know. Next time you go to Paso, you want to meet Aaron, let me know. Someday this year, we'll have a Zoom with just he and I. Number 5, arguably a wine that I'm baffled by, that makes me smile. I'm a Zin producer, and this is a Zinfandel. I don't always find joy in Zinfandel land. By the way, here's a little look at his property. He's got some little RV trailers. I'm not sure if they rent those out every night, but they might. You need a fun place to camp. All right, here's the Zinfandel. This is from a really important old vineyard, Teldeshki. This is called Frank's Block, and it's a special spot. Frank Teldeshki, real old school Italian family farmer. This wine is made by Joel Peterson, formerly the founder, winemaker, retired of Ravenswood. He sold Ravenswood. His son came along, started making the wines for Bedrock. His son is a master of wine and really involved in rehabilitating old vine vineyards. These are some of the oldest vines in the Sonoma Valley. And I don't think very many people get a chance to taste Zinfandel at this level. I'm just realizing as I'm talking about it, the hair is standing up on my hands and my neck because I'm so excited to be able to taste this with you guys. And I love Zinfandel. I really do. I really think the Zinfandel has gotten a bad rap in California. I think it's a much better wine than anybody really knows. But, you know, you got to be willing to pay Cabernet prices for a good bottle of Zin. This is a 115-year-old vineyard. 115. Totally dry farmed. And it's just a spot that these Italian farmers knew was special. There's Joel. Joel's retirement plan is to make enough wine to keep him alive, meaning he wants to exercise. If he can't do it himself, he's not going to do it anymore. He literally shovels out his own tanks. He's a man that's in his late 70s. So he is out there doing it and having fun. And he's been working with this vineyard for over 40 years. There it is. Lots of space between the vines. No water, just the rain. Bush vines, no trellising. Let's taste it. I saw some questions I did not respond to. Lisa.
I looked it up. Don't worry.
Okay.
They get their grapes from a little bit of everywhere.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So for Zin, swirl this around. Great color. Zinfandel usually doesn't have a problem getting really dark. There are producers that can make them just black in the glass. He has a style that he likes to present. But what gets me is this nose.
one of the problems with using this kind of glass. What do you think?
It's got a beautiful, very fragrant nose. It's got kind of charmingly dances all over the place with the palate. Not overripe, dry, good balance on the tannins, the spice, the fruit. My current sample is a little cool. I had mine in the refrigerator. I'm hoping that you get that kind of fun thing at the top of the nose. It's like almost like a salted caramel at the top of the nose. It's got this wildness, and there's a little balsamic in there too. It's just starting to come out of my too cold to drink at this moment glass of wine. Really like some kind of ranges from like baked plums. When I also not only did we have a kumquat tree, but we had a plum tree, and the plum tree was really old, and it was an abundant producer of plums, and you could just smell plums on the ground rotting, smell plums in the tree, you know, every season. And then what we would do is pick them, and we would poach them, and then put them into jars and have poached plums throughout the year. And that's a lot of what I'm smelling here too. Again, that little bit of saltiness in the front. I think it's a piece of art. And I love the fact that these vines are 115 years of age, and he just knows how to turn that dial. That's a lot of wisdom in making this wine.
Hey, Ian, do they also make a Merlot? Do we taste one of their Merlots?
He did. That's all he does, is he's going around and finding these little pocket vineyards that he absolutely loves. And he told you the story of that Merlot.
That was great.
Yeah, really. And that's a beautiful Merlot. It's like the most Pinot-esque Merlot ever, because it's grown in like prime Pinot Noir San Giacomo vineyard. But he just knows how to just get that little bit of a character out of it, that, you know, some people just slam it and press it and get everything to taste almost like homogeneous wine. And he knows how to express the personality of that place just so well. That's his real skill.
I think I like the Zinfandel better than the Merlot.
Ah, well, I do too.
This is great.
I like Zinfandel, and I would put this as the best Zinfandel I had all of last year for sure. I will also say that when I find something that I love as much as this, I get pretty aggressive. So I'll have a good amount of this wine for a little while. I think it's also, you know, looking into the future, I wanted to take a position on this vintage. It's 19, right? Yeah, 19 vintage, and hopefully avoid the 20 vintage, which everyone wants. If you can help the Zinfandel industry out and drink a 20 every once in a while, but most people declassified 20s. They didn't make single vineyard 20s. They took vineyards like this and maybe blended them into a Sonoma wine that they didn't have to put in so much new wood, and they made the price a little lighter so they go through the system a little faster. When it was a fire vintage, and all these vines sat amongst the smoke. So this is the 19. I have a pretty healthy supply of 19 So if you ever need a 19 Aldeschi, come get it. All right. We move into one of my favorite Cabernets, and wow, are there so many great Cabernets. And there's a lot of Cabernets that I could have pointed to, but I wanted to find something a little bit of an outlier. This comes from arguably one of the best vineyards in all of Napa Valley. Beckstoffer, George III. And the story behind them getting this fruit is that a few years ago, Schrader got sold. And Schrader was very aggressive in how much fruit he owned and how much wine he was going to make. And the company that bought Schrader didn't want to be that aggressive. And so they let some of their great vineyards go. This was the wine, the vineyard that went into his most prized bottle at Schrader. They got 100 points many times. And George III vineyard, that fruit sells for a lot of money. It's about $25,000 a ton. So this wine works really hard to stay under $200 a bottle. These vines are super special. Now, Locanda is a teeny little brand, and it's actually a little winery located in the town of Kenwood, Sonoma. But he's got his vineyards on his property planted to some pretty unique grapes. A version of Zinfandel he's got planted on his hillside. He's also got some really old Petit Syrah, and he wanted to buy Chardonnay and Cabernet. So he went to Mr. Beckstoffer, and he's one of the only producers that makes a Beckstoffer Chardonnay, and also has the George III fruit. So his estate is pretty small. He's a doctor. He's not retired yet, but he's very highly thought of in his field. And he kind of created a little place for he and his friends to come, like a retreat. But he does live here. And he does a lot of tele consulting on certain cases and situations. This is 100% Cabernet. And Cabernet has, those expressions of currant, cassis, mint, eucalyptus, some wood, some graphite, some really interesting angles and muscular type of characteristics. Super dark, just as dark as Cabernet can be. The nose smells, it's just like benchmark. And there's also something that I forgot to mention. Napa Valley and the best vineyards right on the valley floor and near Rutherford. It's Rutherford. Yeah, you can smell Rutherford dust. And it's literally because it's the center of the dust bowl. It's, all the mountains form this bowl shape. So this sweet, fine dustiness is at the top of that cherry, that dusty cherry nose. So deep, wonderful texture, weight, richness. Really fantastic. Lush and easy to enjoy. I know this wine will age for a while, but there's no need to wait. This wine is just rewarding you to cheat. And I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, comments?
I think that's phenomenal.
Awesome. Now, I just got back from Portugal, so I'm definitely a little bit under the spell of Portugal. Some just mesmerizing sights. Let's see if I can find one to share with you while I'm talking to you here. But we started off in the southern part of Portugal on this trip. And then let me see if I can change it. To the southern part, outside Lisbon. We went to Lisbon, and then we went out to Evora, and was able to learn quite a bit about Portugal and its history, and wonderful place to visit. Its dollar's still very strong there, good value proposition. The food is very good. And here's just some of the pictures. Let me see how I can share that with you. Actually,
I like this one.
let's see here. So I open that up. There we go. This is on the Douro River. And in fact, we are actually taking photos of the vineyard that you're tasting right now. Went to Ramos Pinto, and they have these really old vine sites, and see how they're trellised, and it's like miles and miles of vineyards that are trellised like this with just an amazing amount of rock. Now we're there in November, so it's nice and cool, kind of flirted with rain all day long, but never really rained, and just kind of stayed in this wonderful state. Super photographic, and luckily a person who was traveling with our group brought his 20-inch lens with him to take some amazing photos. So that's what you're looking at. These are from Gary. That's Evora. That's the Roman city built in the 1500s. And let's see, I think there's one other photo I'm looking for. Think that. Anyway, we're going to taste some port now. And I got a little ambitious. The port. I wanted to show something great, something with age. The port that I'm serving you is from the 2002 vintage, and this was brought into the US for special events, etc. with the winemaker. So I was able to get something a little unique. Let's get, let me get this open. Now, the style of Ramos Pinto is a little more abundant than some of the others like Taylor's or Fonseca. I've really come to love the Ramos Pinto style. It's definitely going for a little more hedonistic ripeness and richness and concentration. All good things, all quality marks. This is Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, and Tinta Branca. And we're up here in the northern part of Portugal. We started off this tasting actually right up here in Rio Spacious, so we're not too far away and off the Douro. And the Douro kind of enters in through Oporto, and then you follow that river up and around until you get right into where we were at. 1880 is when Ramos Pinto came to life, and just a tremendous property. Currently, the winemaker, she has been the winemaker for almost 40 years. Now, this is a fortified wine. So they take the fruit, they put it in open lager, they tread on it, they wait till the fermentation begins, get 7-8% alcohol. Then they add brandy to
Huh.
the wine,
Mhm.
and that they take the brandy up to about 20%. So or nice Napa Valley Cabernet might get to 14.5, 15% alcohol, or it's at 20%. Get lost in that super dark chocolate, super dark chocolate. When you're pressing like 85, 90% cacao. A little bit of black licorice. Balsamic. Don't need dessert. This is dessert. Super plush. And actually quite good for you. Glass of wine like this will, end of the meal, digestif. Help you relax, help you sleep better, good for the blood, good for the liver. Small amount, of course, right? Too much of anything is not good, but a little glass of port every day helps keep the doctor away. And in Europe, that's what they prescribe, especially the older you get, the more port you're supposed to drink it, a little bit more repetition, a little glass every day. Now, I will tell you a fun story real quick, but before I do that, we launched our 100-point wine dinner. We do some pretty exotic dinners. This is probably one of our more adventurous, unique offerings. All the wines approach 100 points. I think of the 21 wines that we're going to open, 3 or 4 are not 100 points. They're 99 points. So it's a really tremendous tasting, and it's not just Cabernet. It's wines like Penfolds Grange, very hard to get.
Mhm.
Next to 100-point Bordeaux, 100-point Brunello, 100-point Napa Cab, of course. A really fantastic lineup. Now, I used to call on Wally's when I sold wine back in the 1990s, and I worked for Taylor and Fonseca, and the importer. So we had a lot of great wines in that portfolio. And I got a call from Wally's to send him some more 1970 vintage Fonseca port. The woman who bought it loved the 1970. When I went to the winery and they told me I couldn't get any more, they were going to send one more case, but that was probably going to be it. And I said, why is it got to be the 1970? 70's a good vintage, but not, like 61, one of the greatest, or 77, one of the greatest. Why 1970? It's because she was told the real benefits in wine come from all the skin contacts and the resveratrol and all that stuff. And so she was really trying to buy the 1970 because it put off a lot of solids and in the decanter. So she would decant it and eat the solids out of the bottle. And she didn't even drink the wine. She just wanted the solids. So this is 2002, coming in at 20 years of age. It's a wonderful place to discover vintage port. And this one is very unique and special and delicious. And I love it with just great conversation. It'll extend the table conversation out for a while. So let me real quickly go back into the 100-point dinner and just show that off 1 second. I want you to see the wine list. Oh, and we have we've been working hard on Learn About Wine, trying to upgrade the website. It's still ways for prime time for me to show it off, but the new upgrade is being released today. So we'll see some better looking website pages in the future. Not quite yet, because we have to redesign every single page, but it's going to come along. Jar has been our partner. It's the Cabernet dinner I'm showing you, sorry. Go back. Calendar. There. We're talking March 2nd. There we go. 100-point dinner. Multi-course meal, but here's the wines. Screaming Eagle 2007, Dominus, Harlan, Obrion, Cinquanon, Scarecrow, Penfolds, Hill of Grace, Lakoya, 100 Acre, Ducru Bukayu, Realm, Sesakaya, Saxum, Insignia, Clo Erasmus, that's Priorat, 100 points. Ciro Panchetti, Super Old Vine, Brunello, and Maibach Cabernet. And then a couple of very close, one of the Chardonnays that we start off the dinner with from Aubert, well, is also a 100-pointer. So a lot of fun putting that together.
In Hawaii,
Say it again.
but he just said that out there.
Oh, okay.
That pulls a lot of dollars. That's a big, expensive event, but it's like once in a lifetime being able to taste all those things side by side. Next couple of weeks, I'm actually going to do a dinner on Zoom next week. We have in the past offered this up remotely so that you can have the food delivered and the wine, but the kitchen can't handle it. So they can only do 20. So that's what the dinner will be. It is sold out, but you're welcome to come and watch with us and participate, and we'll have some fun talking about the wines, and it is a free event. We're going to do the same thing the week after because we have Rhone Warriors in town, and we've got just an amazing embarrassment of riches of top producers from the Rhone coming out, and Paso and Napa, and a really cool gathering of Rhone wines. That's Syrah, Grenache, Mourvèdre, and yes, a little bit of Graciano. On Zoom, the next time I actually do an actual Zoom just for our Zoom audience is our Wine, Cheese, and Chocolate Valentine's Edition. And I'll be sending out cheeses and chocolates with the wines if you want to taste along. It's a lot of fun. Brunello di Montalcino is on February 22nd. And we've got some stunners to be able to share with you on that particular occasion. March 1st, we're going to do a revisit with Miss Dr. Katana and Nicole over at Shen Blue, and we'd love to have you join us and be able to get these wines to you. They have a fantastic time together. They're just incredible leaders in wine, and both of them are off the Richter scale smart, and just love being able to talk to them about what's passionate to them. We're going to go see some new finds in March with Portugal, Spain, and Napa. And our next big presentation, kind of our stars efforts, we used to call them stars. We're only going to call our live events stars because we'll have 30 or 40 winemakers coming into town. So we're calling these Learn About Wine Presents, and we're just starting to launch our Italian lineup. So if you want to check out the Learn About Wine Presents Italy, it is now available today. Just went online. Besides that, I've got some really fun travel coming down the pipe. Probably if you've signed up for Sicily, you'll be getting an email from us in the next day, offering that to those that put it on the interest list. We finally got the trip organized. The Sicilians are not the fastest people to respond to email, we found. So it took some time. We wanted to have it for January 1st, but we got a great interest list. The trip will sell out at 14 guests, and we've already got most of that secure. So if you're interested, you might want to jump on board real quick. We will not travel again until October. We were trying to fit in a trip over the summer, just not working out. So we will focus on our October trip to Argentina and Patagonia, and that'll be pretty special. October will find us, or November, we'll also be going to Spain. So there are still a couple of big efforts coming down after Sicily. Thank you guys. I hope you had a good time tonight, and I hope you enjoyed the wines. And if you're interested in any of them, we have them on the website. You have a special discount code that works until tomorrow night. And we thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
cheers.
you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thank you.
And if you missed the getting your samples, Jennifer, they'll get there tomorrow, and you can replay this. And this video is always available on Facebook at Merchant of Wine. And we'll just send us an email if you need the copy of the video. It takes about 2 hours for me to get this video back, so it probably won't get back till midnight tonight. And so by tomorrow morning, my team will be able to get it to you. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.